Hi, my name is Emily Peeler. I'm in the MAT and ESL program. And this book is called Building Powerful Learning Environments from Schools to Communities by Irina Bocas. This book centers around the idea of collaboration between schools, including teachers and administrators, families, including parents, children, and communities. Focus starts with the current state of education as it responds to 21st century needs. And this quote here demonstrates how some of the changes caused by technology have affected these needs. It says, technology is deeply restructuring our society from how we used to know it, causing major shifts in three vital areas: job market and employment, global community and global issues, and formation of individual self, agency, and purpose. There are new trends in formation of self, and this is in response to the influence of technology and the questions about the personal identity and how individuals fit into the world. There are also new trends in education. There have been several shifts from, for example, rote learning, from memorization to high order thinking, from accumulation of knowledge to application of knowledge, and from subject segregation to interdisciplinary and blended learning. And this has brought about new needs in the education system for developing students in critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity, etc. Next, the author addresses the question, what is a learning environment? And begins by describing simply that every environment has a set of attributes that include the visual, physical, cultural, social, emotional, and resources in each environment. And that people gain self-identity in two ways, not only self-awareness, but also in receiving feedback from a social world. And because of this second part of how the self-identity is gained, children cannot learn in isolation, but they develop physically, socially, emotionally, ethically, and intellectually within their families, schools, neighborhoods, and communities. She breaks down the levels of the learning environment into three levels. The first is the micro level, and this is the location itself where learning takes place, for example, a classroom. The next level, the meso level, is a combination of the learning environment in the networks, communities, and chains surrounding it. And then third, the meta level, is the aggregation of all the learning environments and connections that come within that. This is in contrast to the common belief that each of these environments is separate. For example, that teachers are in control of the learning environment, and parents are in control of the learning environment at home, and that teachers have no control over the home learning environment, and families don't have any control over the school learning environment. In reality, no one has absolute control over any of the learning environments, but the learning environment as a whole is a combination of all the influences, and all stakeholders influence decision-making without having absolute control. After building that background from the 21st century needs in the classroom and what a learning environment is, Focus then talks about building a culture of partnerships. And this was interesting that she said, based on research, that the biggest problem with creating family-school partnerships is that school staff often look down on the families they serve, seeing them as hindrances rather than as potential partners. And then, in response to this, parents often do not feel respected by schools, and they don't trust the expertise of educators. She states that the key here is that all stakeholders feel responsible and accountable for creating the best learning environment for all students. And that includes all parties, schools, families, community members, sharing the responsibility for building trust. However, those who do hold the official power within schools and classrooms have to set the tone and lead by example. She then lays out the three stages of a culture of partnership formation. The first being creating awareness, the second in seeking engagement, and the third in supporting collaboration. In creating awareness stage, this is a time of developing awareness within the educational community and the public that reorients education to meet the needs of the 21st century. So this includes creating awareness systems for a consistent flow of communication and collaboration. The goal here is to build knowledge and understanding and to remove the separation that often happens in these communities. The focus of the school is to supply information, to speak and seek acceptance from families and communities. Some suggestions in this chapter on creating awareness included the awareness systems such as websites, blogs, social media, emails, and having face-to-face time with parents and families. In the seeking engagement stage, this is when families and community members are not just receiving information, as in the first stage, but are engaged in action. And in this stage, the goal is to build consistent consensus and to promote participation. In this stage, the school's position is teaching and coaching and also seeking feedback. In this chapter on this stage, some suggestions were in having an open door policy in the classroom and even open classroom events where family members and members of the community can come in to visit the classroom and to observe for themselves, participate for themselves in the learning environment, as well as giving learning feedback in the traditional sense of report cards and documents, but also in 21st century conferences, including teachers, parents, and students. The third stage is supporting collaboration. In this stage, partnerships are enabled and sustained, and this includes a commitment of resources to developing staff, investing in growing parent leaders, and expanding infrastructure. At this stage, the goal is building shared decision-making and ownership, and the focus in requesting and utilizing expertise, sharing resources, and power. The school's position in this stage is in listening and seeking direction. Some suggestions in this chapter are in new policies and procedures that remove barriers and allow schools to form partnerships around student learning. And also in professional development of staff on building and sustaining family-community partnerships. In this stage, families and communities should be making decisions together with schools. The representatives that are selected by parental and community organizations are included into the school decision-making bodies. In addition to the internal partnerships formed by schools and families, there are also external partnerships with community groups, agencies, and organizations, with learning-oriented partnerships along with service-oriented partnerships. Two of the big takeaways for teaching that I got from this book is from two of the different stages. The first stage in creating awareness, that communicating the learning process to parents is so important, that in order to combat that common mistake of staff, teachers looking down on parents and families rather than seeing them as potential partners, we as teachers need to communicate what we expect, what we're asking of the students, and in that same sense, what we're asking of the parents, as they will be helping the students with homework and discussing their grades. And so communicating that clearly to parents and families is so important in creating awareness. And then second, another takeaway I got from this in the seeking engagement stage is in the idea of 21st century conferences, in which parents, rather than having just a parent-teacher conference where the student sits idly as the other two parties discuss, having the student sharing a significant piece of their work, whether it be a project or a portfolio, or even the goals that they had set for themselves, and how they have achieved them throughout the year, as a way to communicate this discussion. I think that is a great idea, to seek engagement of the parent, as they're much more likely to engage in conversation about their student's work, as their student is the one sharing how they have succeeded in that. And lastly, a quote that stood out for me that I have already mentioned is on page 39. It says, "The biggest problem with creating family-school partnerships is that school staff often look down on the families they serve, seeing them as hindrances rather than as potential partners." And to me, that just seemed like the thesis statement of the whole book of this is an issue that we as teachers need to address and work toward building that collaboration on our end, seeking engagement and building that collaboration between families and communities.